Hey there team, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Worth It Then Worth It Now, an ongoing segment I run here on this channel where I have a look at games of yesteryear. They're not in season or in vogue, but they're generally near and dear to my heart. And as best as I can, I line them up with a sale, which is pretty easy to do this time of year. We're still in the Steam winter sale, summer sale, depends how you want to look at it. And today we're going to have a chat about Portal. Now, recently I clocked it in one sitting. If you haven't played Portal somehow, then, you should drop everything and get it for like $2. Maybe you're just here to reminisce with me, a bit of nostalgia. That's fine as well. But Portal is a very short game, but it's taut, right? It's very clean. You come away from it satisfied. Not all feeling like you've been shorted because it's a shorter game. I beat it in an hour and a half in this instance, and that's because I've played it multiple times over the years and I've become fairly familiar with the puzzles. It's all becoming a little bit rote for me. Might be time for me to actually do the extra levels or try the developer commentary or even try and, there's sort of speed run things, beat it in X portals or X steps, and that starts making you look at the scenario a little bit differently. I know I've done a couple of them in the past, probably on Xbox when I originally played this. But yeah, Portal, you could finish the video there saying one of the greatest games of all time. It still holds up. It does. But, let's reminisce a little bit. If you're under a rock and you don't know anything about Portal, well, it's the product of Valve, who these days are less a developer and more, a $1 trillion publisher. Well, I suppose I should get it right. I'm pretty sure it's trillions of dollars move through their store. But Steam, everyone knows Steam. It's the big storefront on PC. It's pretty much all I play any of my games on. Before Steam, or right on the launch of Steam, they were making the Half-Life games, the Portal games, and very tip of the spear when it came to digital downloads. It was very outlandish at the time. People expected it was going to fail, and for a while there it looked like it might actually, with things like Games for Windows Live struggling along, but that's a whole history lesson that's a little bit beyond the scope. The important thing is that Portal still holds up, and if you're looking for a palate cleanser or something like that, a bit of light nostalgia just between things for one day, you can't really go wrong. I don't think people can quite grasp, especially if you're a younger generation, how incredibly mind-blowing this game was when it came out. It was packaged together in the orange box. It came out right with Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and it also has some crossover Easter eggs. Even though the statute of limitations is up, I don't want to get into spoilers, but this game has one of the biggest turns towards the end, a la The Cake is a Lie, for those that know, but it also has one of the biggest twists, probably, top 10 of all games, and still rocks me to this day. But yeah, this whole idea of Portal in, Portal out, it's had some derivative attempts over the years, but this still holds up, the original and the best. You wake up as a voiceless, nameless protagonist. You're in this test chamber with a sardonic voiceover from one of the best villains that there's ever been, GLaDOS. Like, Portal 2 really builds on this game. I don't want to go beyond the scope. You can see them just kind of tech demoing a little bit here, feeling it out. There's nothing wrong with the puzzles. In fact, the ramp from, hey, this is the concept of portals and spatial reasoning and relative momentum, or rather conservation of velocity, like these pretty lofty concepts being broken down and fed to you piecemeal to teach anyone at whatever IQ level or intuition or whatever term you'd like to use. It does a really good job at on-ramping you from baby's first portal in, portal out to the end of the hour and a half run, where there's actually some fiendishly tricky puzzles that you should feel equipped to complete. Like, this is a masterclass of tight gameplay design. Not just fundamentally, like teaching someone how to play a shooter or anything, but like teaching something that was a trailblazer concept at the time. So there's that one hand, obviously I'm heaping praise on it, but on the other hand, it's doing the exact thing that video games should be doing. I will perpetually be frustrated that we have game awards seasons that celebrate all these light games with AAA graphics that exist to be like award season's bait at Game of the Year awards that are just imitating Hollywood, which in turn that whole award structure is collapsing and eating itself anyway. When what we should be doing is celebrating this, something that can only be done in this medium. It stands apart, as opposed to a pale imitation from a bunch of nerd developers in a garage pretending that they're making an Oscar-winning Academy Award video game narrative. This is actually doing unusual spatial puzzling that you could never really put to screen, not successfully at least. Ultimately, a piece of media that can only exist as a video game. But it's good. It tripped me up a couple of times. Again, like I said, it's one of those games I go back and play fairly regularly because it's so accessible, it's so small, it's so clean, it's so well done. It really is a delight to just duck back in each time. And the humor still holds up. Like consider for a moment, this game's 20 years old, basically, which is wild to say out loud. But in that humor scape of modern, westernized media, there has been a huge uptake in what you could probably call the Whedon-esque, fast-talking, smarmy, snarky, almost mean-spirited, on a meta level, Marvel humor, right? This stuff that is designed to take the punch out of every single possible scene to the point where you just can't have a moment of serious hanging silence without expecting some stupid punchline to wreck it and pop it, right? Now, this humor isn't that, not really. It's its own thing, and it is really explored much more in the second game. Light spoilers, I suppose, but this ultimately ends in a boss fight against GLaDOS, the female supervillain robot, right? And you beat her, you kill her, and in the second game, basically in short order, you're versing her again, and she's got a really big fucking grudge, a huge chip on her shoulder about, hey, you killed me, and they really do lean into and explore her personality as someone that is really quite miffed that you killed her, and her answer is a much more, dare I say, even feminine approach of poking and prodding and insulting and conniving. And I'm not trying to say these are the only qualities of a woman. This is not meant to be negative. Don't take it the wrong way. But much like a villain that's male is usually masculine or brawny or ego-driven or, bit of a caveman, that sort of thing. And a lot of modern female villains or characters try and pretend to be men, right? They have all those qualities I just mentioned. Big, muscular, rage-bound woman. And that's not really in keeping with, let's say, more feminine qualities, which is more about talking. And if you were to take the negative side of that house, it would be things like manipulation and mind games, and that's in here, poking and prodding you and trying to guilt trip you and manipulate you with your cube that's apparently your friend and making you incinerate it and then shitting on you and saying, oh, you incinerated that faster than everyone else, that's funny, right? So there is this biting, sardonic humor that it does still hold up, but if you've had your brain rotted by all the modern Marvel shit that's everywhere today like I have, it might lose a little bit of its edge, which is a bit tragic, but you can sort of see where some of that stuff began. It's a cool trip down memory lane. Anyway, look, let's just put a bow on it before it gets away from me. Portal, good. Portal 2, good. Maybe we'll even have a look at that as well. I'm pretty keen to play on and get more of that under my belt. I'm not quite portaled out, that's for sure. And even though I'm not really a huge community modding guy, of all the things out there, there are a lot of expansions to varying degrees of quality. It depends on your appetite. Again, a lot of it not for me, but maybe you do find yourself with the portal bug, for example, and you want to play more. Well, there are these entire story packs that you can get as mods and download them and play them, and they push, for better or for worse, the Portal systems even further and harder. So there's a whole bunch of community stuff you can check out yourself if you were curious, beyond the scope of just the original game. All right, let's wrap it up there. Team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.